Well, Coach, you're back again for another season of RGV FC Toro's coaching experience. How's that coaching ride going so far?
Well, it's pretty good. Obviously, it's a different role between the scouting director and being the first assistant that I was in my previous 3 years. But it's I think my time here with the club is has been fun. I've enjoyed it, and continuing that process even after the split with the Houston Dynamo. And being able to join Wilmer and teaming up again as we had coached previously was something that I really wanted to explore again, and I'm really enjoying it.
Now that you've taken a step back from everything, what is it? What kind of satisfaction is it leaving you now that the team has achieved playoffs the last two seasons, and what's kind of like the goal already in mind for this season right now that it's in the middle of that run now where you're starting to get players back, you're on a 6 game run. How is that just being uh, the focal point right now of the season?
Well, it's always I think from day one, we always and my expectations was always to make playoffs and go as deep as you could. Obviously, the circumstances when I had the team is different from when it is now. That we were more on a developmental aspect of things, and where we were all about just producing players and being here for the injured players and stuff for the first team. My personal experience, obviously, I wanted to win and I wanted to go in the playoffs. Hence, I think. Whenever we had consistency towards the end of the year, we were always close because of the consistency of okay, now we have a group of players. These are the guys we're going with, and I think those years, we made a good run and we came close a couple of times. It's different now. Obviously, being independent, the sole purpose when Wilmer came here is we wanted to win. We wanted to make it the playoffs, and we wanted to try to win the championship. I think we fell a little short in regards to maybe continuing moving forward into the playoffs. But we still, making the playoffs is still top priority. But winning the whole thing it's always the goal at the beginning of the year.
Now, from an assistant coach's point of view, now, what are just some of those differences that you get to see on a day-to-day basis that perhaps as a head coach you didn't?
Well, I think individually you focus individually on certain aspects. Sometimes I focus only on certain group of players. Sometimes just on the back line. Sometimes on the forward line. Sometimes on the midfield. So you pick things in at times, and obviously this is something that comes within when we have our chats with Wilmer. Also whenever I'm looking at the other teams and how to beat them. You know what I mean? It's a little different because when you are the head coach, you look at everything. Before when you're the head coach, and you're in charge not only of the whole team, not only the guys who are starting, the guys who are not starting, making sure that well-being and mentally that they're all there for you, the staff. Making sure that everybody in the staff is okay, and just the healthiness of the overall club. And so that's a little bit different where that's the responsibility of Wilmer. There's times when a lot of moments where we talk and try to figure out how to we make the club better, but it all falls on him. So the responsibility is not mine anymore.
Yeah, so you were talking about like the taking care of those little things, and because of those little things, can can eventually lead up to a lot of successes and failures. For you right now, just taking that step back and working on certain aspects of things. For you, what has been the biggest growth you've seen in the 3 seasons that you've been an assistant coach now? That you, because the seeds were planted as independents and now it's starting to flourish as a whole product.
Well, I think the most important thing is that we make our decisions for the club here. So the decisions being made by Wilmer and his staff in regards to the personnel. Obviously, we're not talking about what goes on with the stadium, the market. No, I'm just talking about from the player aspect of things, as opposed where before it was done by someone that's 6 hours away. You know what I mean? There were times it wasn't even there were things that the head coach of the first team wanted to do. There was things that sometimes the general manager thought what was best. And for us, it was just a matter, of making sure that we met those needs. Now, as a club here, is our priority is our players, our club, making sure that we win, that that we develop our players, and they are for our own benefit. It's not for for someone else. So that's a big difference, and it's the responsibility, is different. The goals are different, but it's in that aspect. I think it's important of just the communication from within the club. I also think that it's different because I know I felt it sometimes. It was Houston Dynamos here, and then the staff from RGV was here, and my staff and myself, we were kind of here on an island. We weren't. Sometimes we had the feeling that we weren't really part of the Dynamo. We were a part of them, but not completely integrated. And we were a part of RGV FC, but we weren't completely fully integrated because it was just a little. Now we know that we are a part of RGV FC. That we're under that umbrella, and we're solely under that umbrella. So that's different.
Talking about being one of the longest tenured Toros here. You've been 5 seasons in a row here now. You've seen a lot of players come in and
Six,
now 6
six seasons, yeah.
6 seasons. You've seen a lot of growth from this club, from its infancy steps to from independence all the way through now. What do you think is the club's next biggest jump to take in order to fully achieve what it wants to here in the USL Championship?
Um. Well, obviously, like any coach that you ask, whether you ask the clubs or the managers that have a massive budget, to the ones that don't have a budget, I think we all want more. Now, is that possible? No, you know what I mean. I think for us, we do whatever we best can with what we can afford, and that's the truth. You know what I mean? So we do with the resources that we have. We attract players because of this stadium. We attract players because we have good training facilities. I think that overall they're treated really well. But sometimes we have to go and find those rough diamonds, and we have to shape them as opposed to maybe some other teams that have already players that have showcased themselves and have proven themselves. Well, we develop our players, and that's why sometimes you see a tendency that our team takes a little longer throughout the season before we start getting ourselves going, because we have to we have to teach younger players. We have to make sure that we mold them. And this year we brought back enough players from previous years that maybe it wouldn't take as long. It has, because of the injuries that we've acquired throughout the season. But like I think it's, yeah. Sometimes is you know we want more. Can we get more? No, that's up to the owner and what he can afford. You know what I mean? That's not for us to dictate, because he is. I mean, he takes care of all this. So this is what we have, and this is what we'll try to make it work. But you do see sometimes in the depth of a bench, depth of players, and some of the players that, like you said, are proven, as opposed to us finding those rough stones.
Yeah, and you talk about the development of players and sometimes finding those diamonds in the rough. Uh, does sometimes development come in the form of game time, whereas you just have certain hours of practice? Like, say, you guys give yourselves those two-a-day sessions at times at the beginning of the season, whereas now you're in mid-season. Sometimes you continue to have those two-a-day sessions and continue working and developing these players. Is that just part of the process right now for RGVFC?
Well, I think the developing aspect is it goes throughout. You know what I mean? And the teaching and learning learning things about the game. That goes from our youngest guy, Dylan, to our oldest guy, Gringo, who the game develops, the game changes, little nuances, and it's about learning. So the development aspect never stops. Obviously, the growth is a little different for Dylan, who's a 16-year-old, as opposed to Gringo, who's already mid 30s, World Cup experience, all the experience in Mexico. So he's already on the later end of his career. But yeah, the development never stops. You know what I mean? So that's for sure.
Now, the relationship between you and Wilmer, it's been a good progress and a good working one. Both of you guys, America Cali guys, just how does that relationship continue to flourish? Where sometimes you're just assigned to the new kids, while he's taking care of the older kids and molding the game plan for the week is concerned, and try to get these younger guys a little bit more adapted into the club's needs and styles, knowing that you're the director of scouting. You have to assist the coach in that frame.
Well, it's different. I think our relationship through time, sometimes one thing is being teammates, and him and I are really good friends. But we have to differentiate between friendship, teammates, and then a working environment, from the head coach and me as
Hmm.
assistant. And I think like any assistant is, you're there to assist the head coach to be successful. I think his success, runs down towards not only myself but the rest of the staff. But his success is what we do with the players and how we develop and how we prepare the players. So, we sit down and we talk a lot. We are constantly talking about the game, the players individually, collectively, who it is that we might feel, could be an interesting piece for us moving forward. Because that's what happens. I mean, there's change. Every year there's change. Sometimes even throughout the season, there's always change. And how do we stay on top of um, I guess reading or seeing how those changes can come about for us to be able to succeed. So yeah, for us is just is the constant communication about the players and how it is that we can improve, on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, for the club to be healthy, not only just now, but moving forward. Obviously, with some of the things, and what we have and what our capabilities are, we always have to get to stay a step ahead to make sure that we don't fall behind. You know what I mean? And like anything else, there's moments in which we're given freedom to do certain things, and there's moments where we don't. So we always have to have a plan A, B, or C. And so it's those things that him and I communicating constant, but it's not just me. You know what I mean? It's with the rest of the staff, because overall it's a group effort that. For us to make sure that those guys, or the 11 guys that we have on the field, or the 18 guys that we roster, or the 25 guys that we have on the roster, are ready at any given point to be able to give us what we need in order for us to have success on the field.
Well, Coach, thanks a lot for giving me some time out of your busy schedule. Appreciate the chat as usual. It's always fun to chat some of the coaching intricacies that go around with this club, and you just taking time, just breaking down some of the uh, interesting aspects of this club. It's just for me, it's just a pleasure for me to come out here.
No, no, thank you for having me. It's always great talking with you, Ray. You've been a part of this of this project for a long time. You've always been here, at least since I've been here.
Well, Coach, many thanks.
All right,
Appreciate it.
thanks a lot. Be good.